Do you do your own ad sales, like internally?
So we're getting into way too much business talk. But I'm telling you, you ask any left-wing person online, and we don't get a fraction of that money, a fraction. So there's a ton of, look, now let me, not talking about you, not talking about any particular creator, zoom out. The reason why the right-wing ecosystem generally has way more money is because industry and wealthy people want a right wing in the old school ways, the Republican way of thinking, tax cuts, deregulation. There's all these things that corporations want, industry wants, really rich people want. And the left does not give them any of that.
But I'm not for those things.
Right.
I argue
so that's why I'm saying it's divorced from you. Like, I don't know what your situation is. Forget the Russians, but the other sponsors, right? So I don't know why they're giving you, and God bless, take it.
Yeah.
Okay? I mean, if it's a real sponsor and they're giving you that kind of money, I'm not telling you to say no. I wouldn't say no, right? But on the left, what you guys don't see because you've never experienced is there's none of that. None of that.
In the independent left.
Yeah, in the independent left.
I think if you look at, like I mentioned, Joe Rogan was a Bernie bro. He very much did not want to endorse Trump. And 4 years ago, he got, I think it was a $250 million podcast deal. He was on the left. He repeatedly called for.
Yeah, that's not the perception. But again, that's podcast.
But Kyle Kalinske posted this viral video where he says, look at all of Joe's progressive and left-wing policies from a few years ago.
No, I'm not arguing that Joe. Look, I would never call Joe left-wing. And then I got super frustrated at him for being too right-wing for a while. I still think he's on the whole on the right, okay? Now, having said all that, his positions are all over the board, right? He's also pro-choice. Yes, you're right that he endorsed Bernie. And why did and the mainstream media can't get it through their head. Why did he endorse Bernie and then Trump? Because it's not left-right, it's populist versus establishment. Rogan is a true populist, right?
Yeah, I agree.
And I might disagree with him on a bunch of issues, and I do, right? And sometimes I'll get angry about those issues. I don't know if he does or not. That's okay. We're all different people, right? But we're on the same populist side. So in his case, the reason why the numbers are huge is because there was a competition in the podcast market, Spotify, Sirius, and others, where they were trying to establish market position. And when they do that, just like Amazon did in the beginning, you lose money in the beginning, and then you make a lot more once you've established market position. So that was the theory as to why they were paying giant numbers for podcasts that they couldn't recoup. And by the way, most of those deals, they did not recoup. They lost money on most of those deals.
So right now we're in what's called upfronts. You know what upfronts? Yeah.
Yeah.
What I'm hearing, like we've basically got bidding wars going on. The contract. That's why I try to be careful because we do contract negotiations, and we like I've largely just done Cast Brew and we've promoted ourselves, make our own companies, control our own IP, but to sort of advance the conversation, not just keep harping on us. Since Donald Trump won, and all of the media has been reporting that this is the podcast presidency. Advertisers are telling us YouTube is the number one space now. Mm-hmm. And so what we're likely going to see into next year is I think you guys are going to break the bank. I think Young Turks will probably skyrocket. The things we're hearing, what's happening now is Rachel Maddow, she was getting $30 million. Then she gets 25 because they have to pull her salary down. But MSNBC is their latest ratings. I don't know if it was prime time or whatever, was 38,000 in the key demo. You could make a video of you just gardening and get more views than that in the key demo.
Yeah, that's a bad video.
And their ratings keep dropping.
I know.
Yeah.
And the ratings keep going down.
Keep going down, yeah.
So the advertisers first were going to podcasts like Apple, Spotify, and they're like, audio podcast listeners are deeply engaged, so there's a premium on the CPMs, like how much they're going to pay per 1,000 viewers. And what I'm hearing now from everybody is YouTube has officially taken over. Advertisers have finally realized, YouTube was suppressing podcasts. You know this. They were treating talk shows like garbage, and they were like, we don't want this for our audience. We want video. Now they're realizing this shaped the presidency. This is shaping politics. All the big companies are now saying, we want those premium spots. This is great news for all the populists, independent media. The corporate press is going to collapse under their own failures. They're desperate. And what we're going to see is, for better or for worse, whatever people might think, Young Turks is going to be able to hire 100 new employees in the next year or two as advertisers start coming around and saying this is obviously where the space is at. And we're going to see the creation of massive networks with huge stars, with huge salaries emerging. So ask yourself, how do they pay Hannity, you know, like what does he get, like 30 to 60 million? I don't know what his salary is.
Yeah, it's some huge
40.
number, yeah.
How do they afford that? Well, their viewership used to be in the tens of millions.
Yep.
Made sense. Now it's all going away, and the independent channels are going to start taking pieces of that pie as advertisers look for ways to sell products.
And a lot of people
change
don't
everything.
have cable either. Like if I want to watch an MSNBC segment on my phone, I have to log in with my TV provider. Well, I don't have one.
Yeah.
You know, like I subscribe to YouTube stuff. I subscribe to a bunch of other stuff. I don't have any cable subscription.
So let me give you a general business sense of it. All the things you just said about the advertising space, that's where we agree most, right? So first of all, with television, they used to have 100 million subscribers.
Yeah.
So MSNBC, CNN, and Fox News would range from $1 to $4 per month per subscriber. So that means that we're taking in $100 to $400 million a month.
Whoa.
A month just from subscribers, doesn't count advertisers. Subscribers are a bigger part of their business than advertisers were, and now their average age for all the cable news guys is around 70 years old. Like they do those shows out of a senior citizen center, okay? And yet the rest of the mainstream media is like, they're the most important, they're the most important. Like if we all had audiences that had an average age of 70, what would mainstream media say? They'd be like, they're irrelevant, they're garbage, they're just for old people, who cares, right?
Yeah.
They're so biased they can't see straight. So now that they've gone from 100 million to 60 million subscribers, they just lost 40% of their main revenue source. They're reeling. So that Rachel Maddow contract was mental to give her $25 million a year for one day. As your ship is sinking and you spun off your company because you know it's going under, right? That is nuts.
Yep.
So advertisers, generally speaking, are the most conservative people on earth. I don't mean politically, I mean by nature, right? So you could show an advertiser, look, here's where all of the audience is, but they say interesting things. Here's on the other side, there's two people watching, they're both 98. But they will say totally insipid things. Nothing interesting will be said. An advertiser will be like, "Oh, I'll take the non-interesting one. I'll take the non-interesting one. I don't care if there's no audience. I don't care. No, don't say anything brand unsafe."
But now what's interesting with YouTube is with programmatic ads, the rates are going to go up. And when I put on Fox News or CNN or whatever, skateboard commercials come on. So now doesn't even matter. YouTube's going to put the ads where the ads function. And this is YouTube TV. So this is an analog for cable.
Yeah, the money's shifting in a big way, and the dam's going to break. That's where I agree with you most.
Cenk, I wanted to pivot to one of the issues that I know you're outspoken about, Israel-Palestine and the war in Gaza. I was looking at a couple of clips of you talking about the issue earlier, and you accused Israel of genocide. I want to know if you still believe that, and if you could elaborate a little bit more on why you believe that.
Yeah, 100%. Look, Gaza's a slaughterhouse. 44,000 dead, 104,000 injured, 90% of the people displaced, 85% of the buildings damaged or completely destroyed. Now they're taking a 12 square mile area in the middle of Gaza and saying that's now Israeli land. Okay, well then, was it about self-defense or was it about taking land? So they're starving the people of northern Gaza. The American government acknowledges it, the UN acknowledges it, every reporter acknowledges it. So and they're moving the population down south. When you move a giant population and you starve them and you kill them and on and on and on, that is a genocide.
So just because I want to see if you're being, morally consistent with this, do you think the Russians are genociding Ukrainians?
So I'm 100% against the Russian invasion of Ukraine. I hate it, and that's why I believed in supporting Ukraine throughout this. Now, the problem is that the defense contractors are making so much money off of it. I can't tell what's
More Ukrainians have died in the Russia-Ukraine war than Gazans in Gaza during this most current war. I'm just trying to understand.
11,000 civilians have been killed
in where?
Ukraine.
And how many civilians were killed in Gaza?
Of the 44,000, at least 3/4 are civilians.
How do you know that? Because Hamas doesn't release the numbers.
So first of all, 2/3 of them are women and children. Okay, so right there. Okay, so that's a giant number. Second of all, even if you take the IDF numbers, they've moved them from 9,000, 11,000, 12,000. So let's take 12,000. 12,000 to 44,000 is still a giant percentage.
There's no genocide in Ukraine. According to your definition. I mean, you could hem and haw, but I'm trying to get to...
I think the Russian invasion is horrible, and they took land. If they're moving Ukrainians from one area to another, forcibly moving them, then I would say that's ethnic cleansing.
Okay.
Right.
And now the one last follow-up, do you also acknowledge the Armenian genocide?
Yeah, absolutely. And so, in fact, the Armenian genocide is an excellent example of why it's a genocide in Gaza.
Well, I mean, more than a million Armenians were killed, so I feel like these aren't kind at all. And then also the Armenians were completely driven out of their land in Turkey.
Kind of like the Palestinians.
What?
Kind of like the Palestinians.
Well, they still exist in Gaza and the West Bank
No,
and
they've
in
been
Israel.
driven from North Gaza. Okay, so, brother, look, Armenian genocide, what happens is the Armenians are part of the Ottoman Empire. They rebel. Why do they rebel? Because the Turks are occupying them in a sense. And there's different rules for Christians than there are for Muslims. There's different rules for Armenians than there are for Turks. The empire lasted for 500 years because those rules were not too onerous. But were they different? Of course they were different. Did they want their own country? They do. Okay? So they rebel. When they rebelled, did they kill Turkish civilians? Of course they did.
But
right?
I feel like you're justifying it. No, but
I'm not justifying it. I'm doing the exact opposite.
Justification. You're saying, oh, well, the Armenians were attacking Turks, and that's what led to them driving the Armenians out?
No, you didn't let me finish. I'm saying the exact opposite. So what the Turks said was, well, they hit our civilians. They're terrorists. And you know what? They didn't have a military installation. Of course they didn't, because they're insurgents. So they were hiding among their civilians. So we had to kill their civilians. The Ottoman explanation was nearly identical to the Israeli explanation. They're both genocides, and both are justified by, but they didn't have uniforms on, and we moved them to a more convenient place so they would be safer. It's always the same justification. Srebrenica, same exact thing. Oh, we got to move them. Oh, we got to kill them. We got to starve them.
The Kurds were also genocided?
So, no, the Kurds are a completely different situation. They're in 3 different countries at a minimum, maybe actually 4 in big numbers, and those countries treat them in different ways. So when Turkey, for example, did not allow them to speak the Kurdish language and had different and oppressive rules, I was against it.
Did it qualify as genocide when they targeted to kill them? And then
not speaking your own language is not genocide.
I think maybe you probably know better than me, but tens of thousands of Kurds were killed and ethnically cleansed in different part of Turkey, and you don't think that qualifies as a genocide?
I don't stipulate to those facts at all. I think that that what the Turkish government was doing in setting different rules was wrong, but they changed that. Kurds vote in Turkish elections; they can get elected.
Arab Israelis vote in Israeli
elections. That's right, in Israel. But in the occupied territories,
and in Gaza,
you keep 5.5 million people enslaved, right? 5.5 million people under permanent occupation.
For slavery compared to what we did and having this country.
I know. Go ahead. You sound exactly like the Turks excusing the Armenian genocide.
You sound like the Turks excusing the Kurdish genocide, but I think we have a different segment.
Yeah, okay. So now you want to get into random things and pretend you just say, "Oh, I murdered all these Palestinians, but it's okay because I'm beloved Israel." It's not okay. You did murder them. I hate it. I hate all the wars Israel starts. I hate that they make us pay for all their
IDF
wars.
Is the most moral army trying their best to protect every civilian.
Most moral army.
No, it is in with it is Hamas's interest to have as many civilians.
Nonsense.
Cenk, please don't talk over me. I let you finish your point. It's within Hamas's interest to have as many civilians killed, so they could. So
they made us kill them.
Cenk, the poor
Israelis didn't want to kill them, but we had to slaughter all of them.
And Cenk, it's for impressionable Westerners like you and Western liberals and communists to get misled about this.
Communists? What does that have to do with it?
Far leftists and communists support the Palestinian cause.
Hamas is right wing.
I know. In the West, you're saying communists don't support Hamas.
Western
communists
is not relevant at all. Are you insane?
Western socialists and communists.
You think this is about communism and capitalism?
I've been
covering Israel grabbing more land. Attack, kill. America pay for it. America pay for it.
These are all socialists and communists.
So Israel is a terrorist state. It's a rogue state, and I'm sick of my taxpayer dollars going to murder Palestinians because Netanyahu wants to do it. He's a goddamn terrorist.
He just randomly wants to murder Palestinians. There's no stipulating factors. Netanyahu is crazy and just want to kill as many civilians as he can.
Vicious terrorist.
And that's why he's only killed 40,000
Only killed 44,000?
Most of whom are Hamas members.
All
right. Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.